Hi, I'm Christine Daigle.
I'm Jena Brown.
I'm Kevin Tumlinson.
And I'm JD Barker. Welcome to Writers Inc. So, do you guys remember a couple of years ago where I went camping? Like we
No.
talked
I
about it on the
do,
Vaguely,
show.
yes,
vaguely.
with your
Yeah. So
giant inflatable tent.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Okay. I remember this now.
so it's not real camping. We belong to like the local country club, and then once a year they do a camping event, and we set up tents on the golf course.
Yes,
And
that's
like
right.
it's catered, and like when you need to run to like the bathroom, they put you in a golf cart and they drive you over to the bathroom. So it's not like real camping at all.
That's my kind of
Last year I
camping.
was. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
did this 2 years
Nice.
ago. Last year I was in, I don't remember what country I was in, but I was gone when it took place. So my wife and daughter did it by themselves. Um, it's happening tomorrow. And like I was hoping that I would be traveling or not have to do it, but like my daughter is so psyched. There's like no way we can say no.
Yeah.
So it's happening tomorrow. So we made a couple of modifications. There's an air mattress this time because we didn't have that last time. We slept basically on the floor of the tent, which was the ground. And I found a way to bring power,
Oh,
which
nice.
is good. And I'm hoping there's going to be alcohol.
Perfect.
Yeah, you could fill the
Smuggling
air
and
mattress
not.
with alcohol, and then you've got all you need
Right.
Waterbed.
Well,
for the
Yeah.
for the night.
the country club and the bar is right there. I just don't know how long they're going to have it open for. I know they're doing like a pizza party for the kids. So
Yeah,
we'll see. It'll be fun. The weather looks like it's going to be nice. It's going to be like 68 degrees out.
Yeah. Nice.
That sounds cold.
Yeah.
Not for here. We were at the pool yesterday and it was only like 70 something.
I know it was 50 degrees when I got up this morning here in Pennsylvania in
Yeah,
July.
it's been fluctuating weird like that here too. Like we were 80 something the other day, but then it was, like the next morning it was like 54. And then it shot up to like 78, 79 or something by the end of that day. And yeah, it's been wonky.
Yeah.
It's been pretty
Yeah.
mild here, which is nice. I mean, mild now. When I say mild, I'm like, hovering around.
It's only 97 degrees here.
Yeah, 97. But that is mild. You feel the difference between 98 and 105.
Don't I know it?
All right, Kevin, what is in the news?
All right. Well, Anthropic settlement approved, attorney fees slashed. A U.S. judge has given final approval to the $1.5 billion Anthropic copyright settlement, making it the largest copyright settlement ever recorded. More than 440,000 books are expected to receive payments of about $3,100 per work, with over 91% of eligible authors and publishers claiming their share of the settlement. I'm going to buy a yacht.
Well, found money is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
It's not going to.
interesting though, I don't know like if you were paying attention to this lawsuit and I'm like, oh AI again, but it was everywhere. So I'm like, I guess we better talk about it. But it didn't
Yeah.
change. They didn't change the ruling that trading AI on books can qualify as fair use. So it did not change that ruling, even though
Yeah.
they gave a payout.
Which is
No, I mean, that-
expected.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
don't-
was, yeah.
Well, that's the point of a settlement, right? They didn't want
Yeah.
to go there.
Yeah.
Aside from shutting it down on monetary level.
So they're not
draw.
saying it's okay, but they're not saying it's
Correct.
Well, the court never
So-
the court never got the chance to rule on it.
Yeah.
They're closing
Right.
this out before it gets there.
Right.
So
Right.
it's going to basically have to happen again and work its way up the court system again.
Yeah.
Without a settlement, get to the point where a court could actually say one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting. They've slashed the attorney's fees almost in half, though. So
I'm sure they're still doing okay.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 100 million instead of 180 million.
I think
something
did
that
I
was
read it
that.
right that they said even at the slash fees it was still like like one of the largest
It was still
attorney
large.
fees? Yeah,
Yeah.
like they're fine.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I mean, I know this is slightly off topic, but did you hear about the Chat GPT AI that just broke out of the sandbox?
Yeah.
and
Well,
hacked a
Yeah.
so
website?
the thing that it hacked, I just saw it was like Hug. What was,
a,
the name?
Hug
Yeah, it
face.
was
Hug face.
Yeah.
Hug face.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Yeah,
they're
something
software
like that.
developers or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it broke
Kevin's
out
gonna
and
make fun
hacked
of
the
me,
software
but
development.
I am
There's-
going to make
there's
fun
some-
of
all
you,
of
yes.
these are PR stunts. I
Okay.
I don't.
why,
I
but
agree.
They
No,
just
I agree with
feel
you.
like PR stunts to me. The way the quotes and how people present, like they just feel so fake.
Look, I am a conspiracy hypothesizer. I don't have enough data to be a theorist. And I agree with you. I think that this is all staged. There's no way that AI just on its own broke out and went and did things. Because they tell us over and over again, it's not real intelligence. It's just a generative, LLM. They give us all that, and then suddenly it's out, hacking websites. I doubt it.
Someone prompted it.
And it turns out, like, where they had like, oh, the AIs are talking to each other. That was all staged. Like every time they have something and it starts going around, like it turns out that it was just all staged. So I don't know why they keep doing it, but I don't know. I read that and I was like, I don't know.
I mean, I would love to believe that this was staged, but I don't know that they would be willing to take the legal implications of faking something like that. Because they could get in some serious trouble for putting out a false story like that.
Yeah, but there's virtually no chance that they would let it leak that it did that. Like if something like that actually happened, they're not going to tell people about it.
I don't know.
That's kind of what I was. That's kind of what I was thinking when I read it, because they just laughed it off. Like it was just this funny thing that happened. Like even the company that got hacked, they were like, "Ha ha ha, that happened."
Right.
Whatever.
Wouldn't you, if you were Hugface, wouldn't you want that story floating around out there? Because it ends up making you the hero. Yeah.
It's great for them because nobody knew who they were, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You want to know the truth? Look at who gains, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, it sounds like the AI if it actually got away out of the sandbox.
No kidding. Yeah. Well, speaking of looking at who gains, this is not a publishing related story, but it somehow loops back to us. We'll see. We'll fit it together. But Bill Gates and Richard Branson are betting lab grown meat might be the food of the future. Investors, including Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Tyson Foods, and Cargill, were backing companies developing lab-grown meat, which is a real animal tissue grown from cells rather than meat taken from slaughtered animals. Supporters argued that traditional meat production uses too much land, water, and animal feed to meet future global demand. Lab-grown meat could reduce environmental harm, but companies still needed to solve major problems involving cost, scale, and taste. Early products were expected to include burgers, nuggets, and expensive foods such as foie gras, where higher prices could make lab-grown alternatives easier to produce or introduce. And I just want to say that Christine thought she tripped me up with foie gras, but I have French-speaking people in my family.
Good job.
And also, if Bill Gates told me that I had to breathe oxygen to be healthy, I would hold my breath.
Okay. How I'm going to put this is going to end up being just as bad as all the other like workarounds to real food always ends up being. I don't know how, but it's something is going to go like terribly wrong.
I don't know how cloning animals could be bad for anything, but it somehow will be.
Well,
This is so sci-fi though. Did you watch that? It's like a 3D printer. I just kept on thinking like Star Trek replicators. I'm like, how do we even write sci-fi anymore? It's just like we're gonna print our own meat.
I can't get the visuals of this out of my head. Like just the idea, like walking through a lab and these giant chunks of beef, like choice sections of cow. I mean, they're gonna figure out like this part of the cow tastes the best. This is where we make prime rib, so we're gonna make nothing but prime rib over here, and it's just giant clump of prime rib.
Somebody's gonna want to develop a taste for human. We got some Soylent Green that's going to happen in this.
There are plenty of humans.
Aren't there like, it's not just like growing the muscle, like isn't part of like muscle tissue like being, you have to use it, and I don't know. I don't know enough about
there's
this.
honestly there's that, and like grass-fed cows taste better than cows that are in these farms where they're raising them strictly for cattle, and there's a lot of nuances to it. But I'm sure they can introduce this particular chemical to offset that and do this and do that, and I won't be going anywhere near whatever comes out of this lab.
No, like some of the other like protein crisis is like eating insects like cricket meal and stuff. Would you rather eat crickets or lab grown meat? There's my question.
I think Kevin's onto something. There's plenty of people in the world that are growing organically. You can find them everywhere.
Okay, we're not. No.
Now I would eat lab grown crickets.
Okay.
Does that change anything?
I don't know.
Lab grown crickets.
I don't know. can we just talk? I don't know if you guys follow that Brian Johnson guy. He's
Oh yeah.
insane, but he is now saying that he has cloned himself in embryos so that he can test stem cells and all that. I can we that feels very science fiction to me.
He is fun. He is fun to watch. If people don't know who Brian Johnson is, definitely get out there and just do a quick Google search and look at some of the things this guy is doing.
Yeah, case study
it's
on
entertaining. All right,
Christine's right though. There's no sci-fi left to right.
There's no sci-fi left to right.
Yeah. All right. Jane Yolen, celebrated children's author Jane Yolen, died at age 87, leaving behind a career that included more than 400 books across fantasy, folklore, historical fiction, poetry, and picture books. Her best-known works include Caldecott Medal winner Al Moon, the Holocaust time travel novel The Devil's Arithmetic, and popular How Do Dinosaurs series. Yolen was also remembered as a generous mentor and community builder who supported new writers, helped develop regional children's writing groups, and worked with all three of her children on books. I'm going to have to confess I've never heard of this person.
You know what? Jane Yolen.
God rest her soul, but I've never heard of her.
I forget what I was looking up. I had read one of her books. I think it was a YA book when I was younger. It was called Briar Rose. It was like a...
Oh, I've read that one.
Yeah. What is that? Sleeping Beauty retelling or whatever. And I was just surprised how many books that were actually authored by her that I just didn't realize.
Yeah.
But she was prolific in fantasy. And yeah, I read quite a few of her books. So if you haven't read
I'm not much of a fantasy reader, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go try her stuff out. But
yeah.
Can I just say I'm kind of tired of the trope of reinventing the fairy tales, or like Wizard of Oz. I've seen enough Wizard of Oz knockoffs.
She was kind of like,
I think we're done.
20 years ago though, so it was before all the fairy tale.
She was ahead of it.
But I do like it when the retellings are subtle. Like you can't tell it's a retelling until like you kind of get to a certain point in the story, or like afterwards you're like, oh, this is a version of it. I am fond of clever retellings in that way.
So many
I really
books take inspiration.
Then you're gonna love my book, His 10 Britches.
Yeah. I remember reading a fantasy book and then when I was done, I was like, wait, this is just Plato's Republic, but fantasy.
Oh,
but it was fun.
Interesting.
Take, inspiration from so many places, I like retellings.
Or the what ifs. Like I do kind of enjoy that too. Like, what happens either after the story or before the story, or what if a character made a different decision? I do think those are interesting and fun. But I don't know.
Or you take a side character and make them a whole story. That's fun too.
That's fun too, yeah. But the straight
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That went south at some point.
I'm going to write The Eighth Dwarf. A chilling tale.
Yes. Of revenge. There you go. You can make him like the guy who was the cast out from the Sparta, the 300 story. Like you can make it like, you could get lots of inspiration in there.
Perfect.
Well, there we go. Well, my next year of books is slotted now. So
okay. On that, JD, who's up this week?
This week we've got John Dingle on. John's the author of the critically acclaimed and multi-award winning nominated Gus Wheeler FBI series. He's back with book number 3 titled Before the Devil Knows, about 2 teenagers brutally murdered in the forests of northern Maine, and releases July 29th. Here he is, John Dingle.
Okay. John Dingle, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Christine. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to have you. We're going to talk about your latest, Before the Devil Knows, in a little bit, but we like to always start at the beginning.
Yeah.
So let's start way back. How did you get started writing?
Long, windy road, like I'm sure many authors, or at least some have, right? My wife and I started writing probably 2 decades ago together, and she's super creative. She does anything creative she does. And then with young kids and the rest, it all sort of went frizzled and frazzled and whatever. And then we went away after we had a third child for a long weekend and put together a bucket list, each of us. And on it was to become an author. Each of us had it on our list. So we worked at it for a little while. Long story short, empty nesters in 2017. And I just said, well, I'm going to kind of try to give it a whirl. And I started doing it, and she helped out a ton. I mean, she really taught me how to write, because I never written. I've read my whole life, but writing for business is very different than writing a novel. Yeah. So she kind of bumped me along and helped me find my way and that sort of thing. And it just kind of took off from there. So it's something I found oddly, I love doing. I love editing. I love the writing process. So it's really great. So, but a long, windy road. So started early 2000s, and my first book came out in 2025, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's long for some of us. We're not all magical unicorns.
That's right.
So, okay, I have so many questions about that. So you said you started writing together. Do you mean like co-authoring or writing at the same time?
Yeah, co-authoring, right? And the basis, the idea for the first book, Karma Never Sleep, was her idea. It's morphed and molded over time, but the core of a group of mean girl women in a small town was her idea. And so we started writing together. And again, she's very creative. I'm really not. This is probably the only creative thing I've done in my life, right? And so it just, it was sort of, it didn't work. It wasn't really working. And then she went on to write other stuff. And then I just kind of started hammering away at this in a very blunt fashion. But yeah, co-authoring. That's what I tried.
That's fun. I don't know if I could co-author with my spouse. Yeah, it's an interesting position to be in, because a lot of couples, one writes and the other one doesn't, or has very little interest in it. So how did she help you learn to write? I am so curious about that. What would she stand over you and yell at you, or no?
No, really. Like I probably wrote about 4 books before anything near Karma came to be, right? Mm-hmm. And I can remember writing, just trying to find my voice, just writing, and I have generally a good sense of humor. So sort of, but the jokes weren't landing, and it doesn't translate to the page, right? So it just wasn't working. And so I gave her something to read, and she's like, this isn't good. Like, this doesn't work. I'm like, I get it, but I need more. Like, I don't know how to make it good. And so she took a chapter and said, well, listen, here's a chapter of an FBI going into the FBI offices. I'll take a swing at that chapter and see. And she's a phenomenal writer. And she wrote a chapter, and I read it. I'm like, yeah, that's something I would have picked up, in a Karen Slaughter book or at least like, that's professional level. And so I took a crack at it, and she beat it up. It's like, well, not, kind of reel it in here. And over time in that one chapter, I took several swings at it. I was like, okay, that's kind of the path. Yeah. And so then I wrote more, and she read a little more, and she's like, yep, okay, you're starting to get it. And it took a long time, but it really was. The stuff I wrote was so bad. I mean, just so horrible. It's left to my own devices. But she really helped me find my voice, helped me figure out how I wanted to write and how I wanted to get on the page.
So she's your alpha reader or your developmental editor in the early.
I put it more into, in addition to all the typical, soulmate and everything else, I think she's more like my life coach. Like, no, this is the best way to do it. I'm like, I got it.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, I mean, voice is a tough one, right? It can take a long time to find your voice. That's the elusive thing that agents want and readers want, and you can't really teach it. It's something you have to struggle through and find, I think. Yeah.
I know. I wish there were a pill, right? Oh, yeah. And I think of my first editor was Dick Merrick. And Dick was iconic, legendary. He discovered Thomas Harris and Robert Ludlum. I mean, that guy was a rock star. Mm-hmm. Sadly, he passed away during the process of helping me. But when I dread the thought of what I gave him for us to read. Like, oh, it was so bad. And I still have his notes, and he was a gentleman, and it came across in his notes. But those first versions, oof, they're tough.
I think we've all been there with no one will ever see my first book. So you'd written 4 novels before the first one in your FBI series, is that?
I mean, really complete drafts that never made it to publishing, right? But to me, I just think of it as sort of like preseason.
Yeah.
Just grinding it out. Like my youngest kid was a soccer player, so we'd go to these soccer tournaments or whatever, and he'd do practices, and I'd be in the car waiting for him, and I'd just writing and just kind of flexing those muscles type of thing. But yeah, it easily 4 full novels of crap. Yeah. I don't even think I have the computer files anymore. But again, it helps you get to at least what doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, you got to write your million words, I guess, before before you get the gold. And I'm assuming you're working another job at the same time as you're doing this, or?
Yes, yeah. My day job, I've been in consulting, energy consulting forever.
Okay.
And so, we help folks, buy and sell energy companies and renewable energy and all the flashy stuff that's in the news these days. So that keeps me honest and I have fun with it. So I enjoy that, and I like the writing as a nice compliment to it.
Nice. And that's some serious business side. So how do you fit in the writing around that? Or is it just kind of once you're an empty nester, you've got a bit more free time, or where do you fit in your writing?
Yeah, a combination of ways, really. I mean, me and a few folks have had our own company for a few decades. So it's flexibility. And as I'd mentioned before we started recording, I started working virtually back in the late 90s, but really before it was a thing. It was almost like a stigma, like, oh no, we have an office somewhere, I guess. And so that flexibility, and I've been there with the kids all along, having work from home. So those two things combine. And I've been doing it now for a little bit, so there's an efficiency aspect to it. So, I'm an early riser. I'm usually up, sunrise, get some stuff done before my day starts, and I weave it in throughout the day. I have calls and I have things to get done. And so my writing is really just another list of things to get done by the end of the day. And I just fit it in as the mood strikes me. Some people ask, do you write in the mornings, in the night? Mostly mornings, but whenever you get an idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep. So, okay, your series now is with the small press. Is that correct? You're on the small press end of it?
Yep.
Did you need an agent for that, or is that like a direct submission kind of thing?
Both. I had an agent. You can direct. It's Thule Publishing. You can direct submit to Thule. So I got an agent. So I got an agent back in 2022. Kathy Green out of New York, and she helped me kind of get the novel into shape, and we submitted to him. Basically, we started like many, I think, started with the big houses, and there's really only 15 or 18 of them now, and worked our way through. And that rotation process, right? You submit it and you wait 3 or 4 months, and you never hear back, and right, all the stories. And so we submitted through that, and then once we did that, we started at the larger independents, and Thule is a large one. I think they have, I want to say, just thumb in the air, probably 500 authors. Somewhere thereabouts, so they're great to work with. I mean, I love them. I think I landed in the exact right spot.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How's your experience been with small press? Because I hear some fantastic stuff, like they're a little more hands-on and maybe you get a bit more attention. So your experience has been pretty good.
It's been great. I've been blessed with a phenomenal editor.
Yeah.
She and I just sort of click. And she really, my second book, we can hit that in a bit, but my second book, she pulled that one out of the fire. I mean, she really helped me with that. And so that alone, like that day to day or, whatever month to month thing is great. But the publisher, Thule, they're flexible. They do a lot. They don't do a ton in terms of back office or marketing stuff. But from what I understand, a lot of the big imprints aren't doing a lot anyway.
True.
So that's not really a sacrifice. And they're flexible and nimble. We had, with the launch of this, the latest book, there's been a lot of things with, NetGalley and doing, in conversation things, that sort of thing. They've been extremely flexible getting books in the hands of the right people. So yeah, it's great. It's been a great experience.
Good. Yeah. Marketing is its own thing. We can talk about that in a little bit. So I'm curious then. So you did get the agent with that traditional route. Did you just cold email, or how did you find your agent?
So yes.
Yeah.
that was a process. So that I think that tests anybody's mettle. Yes. I think by the metrics, I sent out from memory. I sent out 281 query letters.
Wow.
And in the end, and I think throughout that process, I probably sent full manuscripts to about 18 or 20 agents. And then in the end, I got punched by a publisher out in the Midwest, out in Denver, I think. That's a publishing. So with the agents, and I got hit by Kathy, and she had some edits. And I did the edits, and she's like, "This is great." And I said, "Great, I have my manuscript out to these others." And she was great, ethical and all. She's like, "You need to go back to them. You need to give them more time. You can't just come with me." And we gave them a week and a half. Yep. In the end, I had six agents really interested, 2 or 3 formal offers, and I still went with Kathy. She's a great agent. I love her.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's something we don't talk about for people who are in the query trenches. If you get an offer, the industry standard is 2 weeks to let the other agents respond, right? To let them know you don't have to take your first offer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good to have some choice. So yeah, that's not, I find with new authors, they're like, "Oh, I got an offer, I have to take it." I'm like, no.
Really?
Thank you. it's still out with these people, and I have to give them the industry standard 2 weeks to let them also make an offer if they'd like. And then hopefully you get to choose, which is a lovely situation to be in. So
exactly. Yeah. But it's a grueling process.
Yeah, it really is. Like the emotional roller coaster of the quarry trenches is not a place you want to be.
It does test you.
It does. Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about your new book. So you have a series. It's an FBI thriller series. This is your third book in the series, Before the Devil Knows. What interested you? I don't know which part. I'm just want to know what interested you about the subject because, religion gone wrong is always very interesting to me. So tell me a bit about the book and what inspired you to write it.
So I've had a list ever since I started writing of stories or themes or books that I want to write about.
Yeah.
And I cut my teeth, reading on the Harry Bosch series and the John Connolly, Charlie Parker series and all the Kay Scarpetta, and they had some great themes in there and some great stuff. I don't want to do that, but I'm sure like them, like they touched on so many different topics throughout those series, and a religion or a priest or a church that adhered to the Old Testament in today's world has been on my list forever. And there's been like both of the other books I wrote, the first two books, really those topics were created new, recently, but this one has always been on my list. And it really is just, some people have said a cult-like vibe, and I guess it is a little bit of that, but it's really more that really strict adherence to a religion that may have seemed right thousands of years ago, but where society and civilization has evolved to what we are today, how do you make that work, right? You need to go outside the guardrails a bit.
Apparently not well, as in your novel.
That's right. Doesn't always end well.
Yeah, and cults are always fascinating. I watch too many cult documentaries on streaming services. But anyway.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, so you live in Maine, correct, now?
Correct, yep.
And this was set in that area. Did you research locations? Did you take trips out to these places or?
Tons of research.
Yeah.
And one of the proud factors, like early on, back to my wife's help, she's like, the details matter, right? A lot of people can write a book that just kind of skips along, but like the details make a story, make a page, make a chapter, right? So I do a ton of research. So yes, we live in Maine, a small island off Mid-Coast Maine. And so when I wrote the first book, it was Gus Wheeler and his partner Vanessa are Boston FBI agents. And so I didn't want to hang it just on Massachusetts. That's where the first book is located. So I really wanted to be a little broader than that. So basically started in New England. And this series, I figured we can get a bunch of books out of New England.
Yep.
And so the first one is Massachusetts. The second one is a small city in Massachusetts. This one is a very rural northern Maine area. And if you've ever read anything about it, I mean, up in, Aroostook County and really northern Maine, there are places up there where, small planes, regional jets crash and they never find the plane, right? I mean, this is really dense, really remote area.
Yeah.
People live off the grid up there the whole bit. So I wanted to be near that, not in it, but near it so that there was that sort of ancient vibe and feel to it and that really like simple life where maybe you don't have the distractions of social media or a lot of entertainment, but it makes you adhere to your religion even more so. Right, because your day is thinking and praying and that sort of thing. So yeah, a lot of research into kind of how life is lived up there.
Yeah. Did you go take a trip and stay up there a little bit in the remote?
No.
You're like, no, I've seen how this movie ends. No, thank you.
Exactly. That's right. I can write it. I don't want to live it.
Yeah. Well, Maine definitely in New England has a history of spooky vibes and settings.
Totally.
Lots of great authors, right? So
yep.
That's awesome. Anything in particular in the book that you want to highlight or that was an interesting learning experience for you, or you just thought this is really cool?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. So, we're not religious. We're born, raised Catholic to a certain point, right? And then just not, So for me, it really was learning a bit about Catholicism, Christianity and how they're related, and the Old Testament and the New Testament, and which books are in the Bible. I was clueless, Christine. I mean, clueless as I started, right? So getting into it, I mean, there are many times I'd refer back to like, how does that religion, how does that work? What's the connection there? How does this work, right? And so that I think is probably the toughest thing for me because you write it over a year.
Yeah.
And so you write something, the first month you go back to it like, damn, I have to research that again because I don't remember how this works, So that was part of the fun of doing it, is like treading through that and kind of learning some of that stuff again,
Yeah. And it's definitely interesting. I mean, there's a lot of research you can do and get down the rabbit hole in religion for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. And the hard part, like you're a pretty accomplished author, right? Like you can't drown in the details.
No.
But it's great to know the details for that off reference or that odd comment, right?
Yeah. And it's so weird the amount of research we'll do because, I can get into the weeds in some stuff and then you see it on the page and you're like, this is accurate. But readers are going to go, wait, what? And you're like, she'd seen it done once at the Academy 2 years ago. And that's like, it's a legit thing. Look at it. I don't know, Google it if you need to. And you've done like 3 hours of research into it.
Yep. Yeah, it's so true. And how many books have you read? And I've certainly done it, where you read, a whole chapter or something, and it's in that like granular level.
Yeah.
Like, wow, I think he or she wrote that more for them than me.
Yeah. I'm like, you could have given me 2 lines and been, it's a black box, or Google it. Like, and it would have kept the story better. But yeah, we have to know. Yeah. But what you put on the page is so minuscule for sure.
Exactly. That's right, audience. Give us credit. We have to know.
Yeah. And so the writing process, about how long does it take you, do you think, to write that book?
I'm on a schedule now. So with Thule, great process. So Kathy submitted, and then the first book, Karma Never Sleeps, was written as a standalone thriller. That's what I thought I was going to write. Cool. And Thule came back and said, "Hey, we love it, but would you consider it to be a series?" Mm-hmm. And I thought I had those thoughts in the background, right, in the past. But then I really thought, okay, yeah, and it's all right. If you will, then we'll give you a 3-book deal.
Nice.
I mean, who wouldn't take that, right? Like,
yeah.
No, please stop, right? I'd love that.
Yeah.
And so that was finalized like spring of 2024 and came out in April 25. Mm-hmm. So it gave me 2024 to write the second book, mm-hmm. right, at Treadmill. And then that came out November 25. And so all of 2025, I had to write this third book. And so now I'm on that treadmill and they've asked, so those are 3 books. And then lastly, before I forget, this holiday season, they said, the Thriller series seems to be going really well. It's selling well and people seem to like it, but you can write, kid. And so they offered me, and I signed a subsequent 3-book deal.
Wow. So 6 books.
So 6 books, yeah. So I'm almost about 2/3 of the way through book 4.
Nice. Okay, I was like, so you got those plotted out, no sweat. It's always a little, when you get under contract and you have the pressure, it's mm-hmm. always a little more daunting than that first book where you can kind of take your
absolutely.
Yeah.
And keeping it fresh, right, and having new ideas, and not trying to be the same old. So, and that's hard. But now I'm on that 1-year treadmill.
Yeah. Did you have to submit an outline for the next 3 books, or just book by book? Like tell them what
they asked for just a blurb, but I actually find a blurb harder to write.
It is hard.
And it doesn't really describe much, right? It's pretty vague, right? So my type A brain, I just went through and wrote a synopsis for the next 3 books, and it helped me flesh out if I can really do it or not. Mm-hmm. So I've got them. I mean, they hold close to the synopsis. They always veer off, right? But I know what the storyline is for the next 3 books, which is for me comforting.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do write my blurbs first, and they're probably the hardest part, getting it down to what exactly are you writing. Yeah, and then it changes, but that's fine.
Exactly. But the
idea is good, right?
Exactly. Yeah. That basic thing you stick to, but the rest flies around and goes left and right.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. All right. 3 more books to look forward to. That's great. Okay. Let's go back to marketing, because marketing is a beast, especially when you're doing it indie or with a smaller press, often with traditional press. Social media has been working lately to help sell books. I know you've kind of been going all in. Any lessons learned, or how has that been working for you with the social media?
So I will say, just like querying and finding an agent, mm-hmm. just like the editing process, you just need to sit your butt in a chair and grind it out.
Yeah.
And I find, and this is no surprise to you, that, now having written a few books and writing more, easily 1/3 plus of my writing time, quote unquote, is marketing and doing other stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Submissions here, or book club stuff or, interviews or whatever, right? Like there's a lot of stuff around it. And so for me, and everybody has a different view for sure, where my comfort zone is, like through my day job, I constantly or often speak in front of large groups of people, hundreds, thousands of people. I'm very comfortable speaking in front of people. I was never big on social media whatsoever before this started. However, to find a bigger crowd, it's easier to be on social media than to do. No one's going to want to see me in Seattle. Who's John Dingle? What's he written? Right. So like until I get to that level, it really was social media. So back to just sit your butt in the chair and grind it out. I went on Instagram and I just DM'd people, and the writing community, as you know, was so inviting and so supportive. And it just snowballed from there. And then, hiring a person like for PR, that helps jumpstart. And so now with the third book, like now there's some momentum, you know, and that was my goal. It was an instant.
I've been watching you on social media for a while. Not that was creepy, but I've seen the uptick and I'm like, wow, he's doing really well with that. So that's awesome. Anyone interested should go take a look at your Instagram. So it's been going well.
A lot of help behind the scenes, a lot of help.
Well, we all have a lot of help behind the scenes, and the writing community is fantastic for that.
They really are. I mean, wildly supportive. Here are people, I can't go on enough, right? I don't want to hijack, but there are people out there that love reading books, and they'll read your book and they'll create images and posts, and they'll talk about it in reels, and they'll put reviews on Goodreads and on Amazon when it gets published, because you can't do it before it's published. They'll do all that stuff just for the love of books.
Yeah.
I mean, how kind is that? It takes a lot to write a book, but it takes even more to be, I think, a fan, right?
Yeah.
It's really amazing. I'm so thankful. I'm so blessed.
Yeah. Fans are the best. And, as a fan, I just love it. Like when other people are into the same thing I am, and we can just have an excited, conversation about it like you're a kid again. It's the best. So
exactly right. Yeah. Yep. Totally.
All right. Well, our time has been flying by. So just as we're wrapping up, one final question we like to ask everyone. If you could give a piece of advice to newer or aspiring authors, what would it be?
It's simple. I come back to sit your butt in a chair and write. And as I said at the outset, I probably wrote easily probably 4 or 5 complete novels before anything saw an editor or an agent. And that's just flexing those muscles, just practicing and finding your voice. Like it just takes time for most people to grind it out, to really work at it. If you want it bad enough, I mean, easy lit. I have never written anything before. And by doing that, I think putting the work in, nights, weekends, early hours, late hours, or whatever, even someone like me that just with ham-fisted hands banged on a keyboard for years, got an agent, got a 3-book deal, got books published. They're pretty successful, knock on wood, which is great. Got a second 3-book deal. I'm nobody special in that regard. Anybody can do it if I can do it. So that's the biggest piece of advice I would give.
All right. I thought it was really interesting that John said that writing is really the only creative thing he does. So I was just curious, do you do other creative endeavors, or is it just writing for you too?
I would bet he has other creative things that he just doesn't see as creative. But
yeah, I think it tends to creep in, right? Because your brain works in a particular way. Like I've got an app in development. My wife is starting a health and wellness company, and I'm working with her on marketing ideas, which are very different from what her marketing people are telling her to do, because I've seen what works and doesn't work on the book side. Yeah. So I think that creative element can be kind of pulled into just about anything. Yeah.
I do a lot of art and design, photography, videography stuff. I do a ton of that. And I lie to strangers about who I am. That's one of my best creative outlets. Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like I've been through a bunch of creative different things, I played classical piano for a lot of years, and my son was young. I took up knitting and knit him clothes and all that kind of stuff, but I never really stuck with anything except
hobbies are fun.
Except writing.
Do you guys have the same problem I have? Like and I joke about this all the time, but all my hobbies turn into careers. So if I take something up for the fun of it, I will eventually say I should just make money off of this, and then I go.
You could be a beekeeper next, Kevin. You could be a beekeeper.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I am right there with you. Like I don't feel like we've got 24 hours in the day. I feel like any activity should be monetized in one way or the other.
That's pretty much me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kind of let like other things go because I'm just like, I don't have time. I just have to, if I want to do something at a professional level, I don't have time for other creative endeavors. Maybe when I retire, I'll do something else. I don't know.
Interesting.
No, nothing else creative for you, Jena?
Well, no, I do. I mean, I ebb and flow on things.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do like, oh, I want to learn how to do something and I'll do it for a while. And like I taught myself how to knit or like,
Yeah.
crochet or I made like dragon eggs for a while. Like it's kind of fun. Like you just do things and then
Yeah, I do that too. I kind of ebb and flow out of things, but like writing's the only thing I really do super seriously.
Yeah, well, I think that it all feeds the writing though. Like sometimes it's like you kind of have to, I don't know, like let your brain, your writing brain rest, like I don't know. I think it all feeds into each other though, and even if you're, like reading a lot is writing to me and all of that. So
I kind of see reading and writing as the same.
Yeah. I even think watching shows and stuff for me anyway, because I am always kind of like on that, oh, I like how they did that, or it's like it's always feeding that writing muscle.
Cool. John said the details matter. He talked a lot about details.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. Funny. So I'm just curious, what details do you think are most important to start the story for how he said just skipping along? Like, what details do you need and which ones just slow it down?
I tend to put like I try to strip it back as much as possible, and I put like minimal details in to begin with. But a lot of times when I go back on the second draft, I give it like a week or two, and then I go back and just read it, and kind of just look for stuff like that. And a lot of times that's what I'm taking out. Just the detail. Just to me, it slows things down. I'd rather leave certain things to the reader's imagination than try to fill in those gaps myself.
Which ones do you keep in? Like locations, like where settings?
No, I don't know that it's specific to one particular type of thing, but like if I have too many details in one scene, I'll dial it back to the absolute minimum that I can get away with.
Yeah.
But I might go in and describe the location. I might describe the person, the smells in the room, the sounds that are going on, something they see out the window. Like I might put all that in on the first draft, and then when I go back through and read it, I get rid of everything that isn't really moving the story forward.
Yeah.
Do you because I heard once and it's always stuck with me. So I'm just curious if like you find that this approach is kind of what you're talking about, where they had said if you can like read the paragraph or the description outside of the book and it makes complete sense that it's too much, so that everything should be like tied directly to like that plot or that scene somehow. Is that kind of how you decide what goes or stays?
I can see that. I mean, like a lot of times when I go through, if I have to cut a particular scene, I have a really hard time with a lot of the text that I write because every paragraph flows into the next paragraph. Every sentence feeds the next one. And like I can't take one out because it's almost like pulling, like playing Jenga and pulling a piece out of the middle of the pyramid. Everything else kind of tumbles. Like I have to rewrite if I take something out in order to get the two remaining pieces to connect.
Yeah.
That
makes sense.
That's actually that's a good editing trick.
So
everyone should write that down. That's a good editing trick.
Play Jenga. If you can remove a piece, you don't need it.
Right. Yeah.
My
I like it.
My use of detail really comes down to what is that character going to feel, or what is the reader going to feel reading it. It really comes down to that. So I will include a lot of detail if the idea is to, I don't know, if I want to make the reader feel immersed or overwhelmed or something along those lines, they get a lot of detail. For the most part, though, I'm kind of counting on their mental engine to kick in and fill in the gaps so that they become engrossed and engaged in the story. So fewer details tend to work better. You give just enough detail to set the scene or to show the character's action or motives or whatever, and then you let the reader fill in the rest. And
that's actually really interesting. And I know that this comes up every now and then, but like lately there's been a lot of outrage on Bookstagram. There was like a thing going that, some readers like don't read dialogue, like they just kind of read, they're skimming different things, and some don't read descriptions. And I know there's a lot of people who are really upset at that. But I guess it's kind of interesting to look at what you just said. Like I do think I zone out with too much description too. Like if it's too detailed. It's like I do like having a little bit of freedom to like visualize the character the way I want to, not necessarily the way.
Whatever way they describe them, I just visualize them the way I want. So
yeah.
No, thank you for the suggestion. But yeah, like you said, especially when it's like where there's high tension and like dialogue between characters, I start to skip some of that detail, especially if like, I got to know what they say. I'll skip it and just read the dialogue. And then I'm like, okay, now I know what they said. And then I'll go back and read the description and read it again, which is probably really stupid. But
no, I find myself doing that too. Like if I'm reading something and my brain just starts to skim because it's getting bored, like it's the dialogue that always snaps me back.
Yeah. Same.
So fascinating.
All right. I had one more question. I thought this was really interesting because John has been on the social media marketing train and has been doing well with it. And he said he spends about a third of his time, or his time that he's carved out for writing, marketing. So I'm curious, what's your ratio? How much time do you spend on marketing?
That's tricky. I mean, I'm usually done. Like I start writing at 7 a.m. I'm usually done by like 11:30, and then I start dealing with all the business stuff. Like marketing is just kind of mixed in with that. Like this morning, I answered a couple of emails from agents, then I had some marketing stuff, and I had to work on an app thing that I'm working on. But my afternoons are primarily interviews. So 12:30 until 3, I just do podcasts and magazines and newspapers and stuff like that. So that's like that time is carved out specifically for that. But honestly, like if I look back at it, I'm probably spending more time on marketing than I am on the actual writing, on a day-to-day basis.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're more like probably 50% marketing and 50% writing, like close to, or maybe a little more.
I mean, it might even be like 30% writing and like 50% marketing, and then the rest is the agents and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, because marketing just takes a lot of time. An interview is 30 to 40 minutes, an hour, or whatever, just each time.
Yeah. That's a hard question for me to answer because it all kind of blends together. Because there's the solid writing time, and that's usually, I'm usually up and kind of working by about 6 at the latest, and typically by about noon I break to have lunch with Kara or whatever, and then the rest of the afternoon is like I'm going to produce this video and I'm going to do this social media post, and it's pretty constant from that point forward.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say how much time I'm actually spending on it. I should probably measure it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's good to know. I know I don't spend enough time on marketing. I need to spend more time. I was doing good, and then I fell off the train a little bit, so I got to get back on it. But yeah, I think writers it's hard to understand how much time you actually need to spend marketing in addition to your writing.
Well, and I think a lot of writers... Yeah, and I think there's a misnomer about what marketing is because, sometimes you're marketing and you don't realize you're marketing, or so a lot of writers kind of feel like they feel guilty because I'm not doing any marketing because I'm not running ads or I'm not on social media or whatever, and those things are definitely something you can do as a part of your marketing strategy, but any engagement with your potential reader is marketing, and so even if it's a newsletter. A big chunk of my marketing boils down to that list, my mailing list. And I'd say probably 80% at least is about engaging with that list. But also, the rest of it is about trying to find the new people to go on that list. So don't, I guess the caution is don't feel like you're not marketing if all you're doing is talking to people who already read your stuff. I mean, that's still marketing. You want to keep them engaged and make them fans, make them advocates for you and your brand.
And if you hate marketing, gamify it.
Gamify it.
Or hire a VA if you can. I don't know. With that, JD, who's up next week?
Next week, we've got Josh Whitting coming on. Josh is a critically acclaimed author of Burn the Negatives. He's also the senior film writer at Radio Times. He's back with his new novel. It's called Be Still My Unbeating Heart. It's a cozy vampire mystery set in Italy and releases August 4th. Josh Whitting. Yeah, sounds great. If you'd like to be notified as soon as new episodes publish, make sure you go to writersincpodcast.com and sign up now. We'll see you next episode, and have a great week of writing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Writers Inc. Access the show notes and leave a comment at writersincpodcast.com.